Today, I'm sharing some interesting supplies that I just purchased from jetpens.com. I'm going to show you how I turn them into an ink swatch book. And just so you know, I have no monetary affiliation with JetPens. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty, where I create with paper and photos in artful ways. Let's start off this adventure with a look at my current swatch book. And as you can see, it's a traveler's notebook and it's getting really crowded and overfull. And I want to move to something that's a little bit larger, as well as has the flexibility to add or remove pages to it. And I just so happened to accidentally find this notebook on jetpens.com, and that's how this whole adventure got started. So let's take a look at my haul from jetpens.com as we go through this project. So it's a little bit of a funny story, but my husband somehow got onto fountain pens and ended up finding the jetpens.com website videos exploring different stationery items. And I've known about JetPens in the past, and I haven't used them very much, but now that I've seen some of these videos, they have a lot of good stuff there. So as I pull out some of these items, a lot of their stuff comes from Japan in particular, as well as Europe and other regions not in the US. So they have options that we can't find here necessarily in ordinary office supply or stationery stores. And yes, they are called jet pens, but they have way more than just pens. A lot of stationery and school supplies for the Japanese market. So I'm starting with this first item here, which is a little set of sticky notes, which I'm going to use for planning videos. I'm hoping to write down different sections and information for my longer format educational videos, which have lots of parts and pieces to them. And I'm hoping having sticky notes will allow me to physically move those parts and pieces around into a logical flow, which I can use to help me film and edit faster. Okay, back to the ink swatch binder. Here is a set of colored sticky tabs, which is going to be part of my color swatching organization system. I am trying a few different packs of paper in various sizes. They use very international standard sizes called the A system and the B system, and that's a whole rabbit hole to get down. But this particular notebook is called Semi B5, which is smaller than the international B5, which is smaller than the US letter size of 8.5 by 11. At any rate, I thought this size would be good, and it has this one cool feature. It's not really a binder, it's a spiral bound notebook, and yet the spirals open like a binder. So this is the perfect kind of in-betweenness for me. We will take a closer look at that binding in a moment, but I want to show you all the goodies I chose to add into this, because you can add these things to this spiral bound binder system. I started off with these tab dividers. My camera didn't want to focus, but here you go. These are some tab dividers that are going to help me divide my binder up by color, so I can go with my Roy G. Biv color scheme. Now, I didn't read the product description very well because these are plasticky. I just assumed they would be, some kind of paper product, so I was a little surprised by that. But I thought this plastic was sturdy enough that maybe I could just put my swatches directly on the plastic. And here, let's check out this binding seam just a little bit more. Okay, you can see I've picked it up and I'm starting to shake it around to see if it will just pop open on its own or how sturdy it is. But as I'm kind of tugging on it and shaking it around, it's staying put. But if you pull diagonally from this direction in particular, it will open. And then you can just run your fingers down there, kind of like a zipper, and it just kind of puts it back together. Now, if you pull diagonally in the other direction, it won't open, just in this one direction, and then zip it back closed again, and your binding is good to go. So I'm loving this, and you can fold it back on itself like a spiral bound notebook. So this is great. So I've got some other goodies to add into this, including a zipper pocket, which I just kind of zoomed past. I'm going to keep all of my extra sticky notes, extra swatch, little labels, which I will get into a little bit more later. And then these little tab dividers, there's lots and lots of colors in these particular tab dividers. So even though they're tiny, which we'll see a little bit more later, I like the range of colors I've got. So I've added a pocket into the front of this. I'm going to add that zipper pouch into the back of this. And this binding is just so easy to use. Yes, it takes a little bit of time to close each one, but really if you just kind of zipper it down, it's pretty good. All right, here are my sticky tabs, which we're gonna go ahead and put to use now. These, like I said, are a little bit on the small side, and you'll see a close-up of that. But again, there is a nice rainbow of colors, including various shades of teals and blues, various shades of purples. So you can pick the color that you like to start off with, and they fold in the middle. So you can use these little tabs on the edges of regular note paper to create a tab divider if you don't already have one. I'm just going to add them to the front and the back of my existing tabs. And that's another reason why I chose these, because there are two of each of the colors, two separate sheets of all of the colors. And that will allow me to add them to the front and the back. So I just did my pink tab. I am now working on my red tab. The first one I fold over, but the second side, I'm going to add the color tab directly over the first, and then you can pop apart the extra foldy bit if you don't want to fold it over again. Hopefully that makes sense. But these are great tabs. I'm liking them so far, and here again is a range of the colors that you can find in there, so that you can even divide up your color categories even farther if you want to have more categories. The only other category I think I might want to add is a peach. But anyway, here is the cover from my previous notebook, and I'm going to cannibalize that. You can see it's gotten kind of destroyed over the years of use, and I'm going to take the pretty part and add it to the front. This pocket allows me to add other bits and pieces in here, like color sheets from manufacturers if I want to keep those in there as well. So that is the structure of my swatch book, which actually I will change up a little bit as I go through this process of transferring my swatches over. I have tried various swatching systems over the years, and this is what I'm finding is working for me. I like little swatches. I like them to be movable very easily, so I adhere everything with a low-tack repositionable adhesive. I like to have them grouped by color families. Within those colors, I like to then group them by manufacturer, and then I can put the other manufacturers next door to them to see where they kind of fall in line on the color spectrum. And having swatches is really helpful because I've discovered I've got 4 pinks that are almost identical. And when you buy ink online, you cannot tell what color that is going to be unless you actually swatch it out. And this is the frustrating thing about inks, which I dream in my mind of a solution for, but who knows if that can even happen. At any rate, let's take a look at my final binder and how it turned out. And I forgot to take off the branding stickers from these, and I was very pleased that the adhesive was easy to release and didn't leave any residue. So boy, they really think through some of these details, and that is fantastic. All right, so I did make a big change to this album that I didn't show in the beginning. I cut apart that piece from my previous album and I adhered that with a permanent adhesive to my very first tab. And the problem that I was having with adhering my samples and everything directly to these plastic tabs was twofold. One, I could see the adhesive through, the temporary adhesive. Here, the permanent adhesive isn't showing through very well. And two, the adhesive wasn't sticking very well to the plastic. So I added in the paper that the binder actually originally came with to create the actual swatch pages. And here you can see I've got my Concord and Ninth on the left, I've got other brands there in the middle, and I've got Tim Holtz Distress Oxide at top and just the regular Distress at the bottom. I have colors from other sections of the binders like purples and reds that could also be read as pink over on the right-hand page. And I've been doing that system for quite a while so that even if I've got them divided by color, I can find maybe that certain shade that I'm looking for that might not be directly in that category. So at any rate, you can see I've made little notes on these ones about which category they are in, which corresponds to where they're in my ink storage system. And then I've got room at the bottom there for other mixed media swatches. And I found that if on that very first paper page of each color section, if I fold down the little paper corner, that helps me actually turn the page to the actual swatches just a little bit easier. So that was one just really quick tip that I had figured out through this system. All right, and this total system allows me to take these swatches out, set them next to other pattern papers or whatever I'm working with to see if that's the color I want to use. They allow me to move them around if I add more inks to my system. And here you can see my green has a lot more room to breathe where it didn't before. And I may even need to add an extra page in here if my greens grow. Who needs more greens? I think I've got enough. But that's part of the point of this system, is that it is adjustable if you need to shrink or grow. Now, with as much stuff as I have stuck into this one little ring binder, I'm at the max here. So if I need to grow, that's going to be a little bit harder to do. What I've decided I'll have to do is just use the front and the backs of those swatch papers and just spread things out between the existing paper a little bit more. But I don't want to get a humongous binder that has more room, because I did try that system and I didn't like having a huge binder. So here you can see I've got a section for black, gray, and white. I even have some other of my mixed media swatches in there. I might move those over to my rectangle swatches, but really they're done at this point, so I will only get to that if it's really bugging me. And then I have a final section for metallic inks, which most of my metallic inks are super dry because I haven't used them in a very long time. So use it or lose it, people. And then my last page is specialty ink. So I've got StazOn, which is permanent ink. I've got Memento, which is both Copic and watercolor friendly, and so on and so forth. And then I put my little pouch back here at the back. I made some notes of other changes that I need to make to this binder, like adding extra swatches to other color sections. I'm not sure I am that thrilled with this little pouch, because when I flip it, the stuff inside the pouch tends to slide. So I might just go ahead and take that out and put it in the zipper pocket, along with all of my spare pre-cut swatches that I have. So that is a look at my current ink swatching system. I hope you got something useful out of this video, whether it is encouragement to go check out Jet Pens. Again, no monetary affiliation with them at all. I just am a fan. Or maybe you got some tips and tricks for swatching your own inks. All right, that is it for this time around. So until next time, I hope you have some wonderful days.